please?
Remember, he told us that light bulbs were warranty for 10 years.
Oh, yeah, every light bulb should last 10 years under warranty.
I just am not, I'm not opposed to that, it's not a tax out, maybe, I think we should do it.
Well, this one only theoretically almost cash flows.
Yeah.
You're saying not replace the boilers at this time for the boiler?
That's my opinion.
What's your
I mean-
opinion on this, the negative 127?
No, I think we should do their retrofit the existing stuff.
So don't get new things, just retrofit it.
I think so. I mean, so I'm visualizing this, we have a box, there's dampers, there's coils, there's servos directing air. And you're saying the inside of this box, we can replace the pieces later.
The coils later.
I don't know.
Are using,
Yeah.
when they talk coils, they're talking.
Well, that's gonna be some sort of actuator
Evaporator
coil.
type thing, or are they talking an electrical coil, I'm guessing.
And I was thinking electrical, like some sort of actuator
To
coil.
me, the actuator coil would be part of the,
Yes, actually.
it would come with new actuators and valves, but to me, that's
The
the
coil
electrical
is-
side of it.
Yeah.
The coil would be
Oh.
the side that has the freon in it,
Yeah.
or the, like an evaporator. Is that?
So what's the option, I mean, what's the other option?
Well,
the other
you just
option
get
is to
new,
Put all that in new.
it's just
Four hundred and
new.
seventy-five.
No, you just,
Am I
It
reading
would
that
just
wrong?
be, if you do everything, you're paying this number. If you wanna just retrofit your existing dampeners, then you subtract this amount from it,
Oh,
and you get
okay.
down to 1.1.
So we would add back, if we wanted to go new, another 127 here.
To your total cost, yes.
Basically, I look at, we're looking at doing that number, and then maybe lights. And the
Yeah.
rest of it's a scratch.
Okay, so I'd
I mean,
subtract
from what
that.
I'm,
The top number and then maybe lights,
It'd be one,
but then deducting the 127, right?
if we wanna go that route.
Right.
so we've got option one, this one, and option two. Right, so if we
Right.
do this, and this, that's that number. We do this, rebuild, and this, or this, option one. Right,
It should be less.
basically 100,
It should be less than that, it should be 1.3 minus 127.
well, added lights on.
Yeah, but that,
I'm getting
that's,
126, 258, 1,263, 258. Doing those three.
that's real good, that's all really saying.
I use my phone.
Well,
I mean,
It's not an apple, it's not an apple, is it?
My question on that.
I can look at that. If we do that number minus that number, and then add the lights back in, do 1.263.
so you wanna,
Yes.
say what exactly that is, so everybody's,
That would be doing the, obviously the top number.
yeah.
We're gonna do the top one, this is a pointless discussion. And then subtracting out, that would be retrofitting existing dampers, so we subtract out 127,000. And then adding the lights back in at 83,695. That's what
That's
that,
that
that's
number.
what that 1.263258 is.
But we'll say that contingency right there, they put a contingency in there, and all that means is that if something gets damaged while they're, fixing something, and they have that $50,000 contingency in there to fix it, and then,
So we should add.
and
So
then You
break
could
between
say-
now and then?
Well, like say they're up on the roof and they drive over the sidewalk and it cracks, they would need to fix the sidewalk, so. That thing, type of thing, so,
That's us insuring them,
yeah.
kind of. Or almost like they would have insurance for.
Well, they do have insurance, but, is that how you understood it, Ross?
Yeah, it was, basically unforeseen items may need addressed, I guess, kind of my understanding. They're gonna bring a crane in, it sounds like, to do the rooftop unit, obviously, and, I don't know, kind of a $50,000 cushion. Stuff they maybe didn't catch or think they needed to replace was kind of what I thought.
Unforeseen repairs.
I would look at that as a contractor, like you get into something and you didn't realize that was in there, and you're, it's like a hidden expense you weren't expecting.
But it's in there and it'll be sure gonna happen.
That's 4% of this figure. I don't know, I know a lot of shops charge 5 or 10% shop fee for miscellaneous this and that. I mean, I don't know if that's out of line or not. I know that number looks huge, but we're doing what we're doing.
Right, percentage basis. I'm just saying, if it's voted, it's gonna happen.
I think you're wrong.
I think you're right.
So between you and Ross having
25,000.
talked to the not replacing the boiler is really up to us, or do they have strong opinions one way or the other on the boiler situation?
I don't feel like they had strong opinions, they just, I guess there was a concern with it being as old as it is, but
Right.
I don't have a lot of knowledge about how long those could normally last, I guess. The thing that you need to think, I guess I think that you should think about is like, so if you're making a purchase lease and you have to, pay every year, and then if the boiler does go out, are you,
We aren't covered in that.
what do you, how are you gonna pay for the boiler? I don't know,
Right.
but I'm all using the goodie out of something, It's kinda how I operate, but I also, if the boiler goes out in December, we're in big trouble.
But there's also parts of the boiler that can be replaced,
Outside
outside of replacing it.
or.
Yeah.
So.
So,
We just, off the rail, but totally sidebar, but some of the boilers that we deal with on the water heater are older than I am. And other than springing a leak, they're totally rebuildable, you just replace components. We did have one spring leak, very, very expensive. One of 7, so, I'm willing to roll with the whole boiler. I mean, they're serviceable.
It wasn't a safety concern.
No.
It was just whether it's gonna.
when it's past inspection.
Oh, it's true too, yeah, it has to be. I would be inclined to pass on boiler, so. If I understand the Dr. Richard VAB dampers correctly, then I'm good with it. Taking the deduction, getting all the new mechanical side of it new, as far as the actuators, the dampers, all that.
Because at one point in time, we were told that you couldn't even retrofit this.
and Ross, you can hone in on this a little bit, but you know, you talk to one person, you can, you talk to another person, you can't, and so the only thing that I can see is you're already paying for labor there, but it's another thing of, you know, just like the boiler, if they're good, let's go with it, but it's just is it a risk you wanna take? Go ahead.
He acted like the biggest threat, the way I understood the guy, I don't remember which one said this, but the coils, they'll clean the coils the best they can,
Yeah.
but the coils won't be new, so.
Yeah, I guess the box that concerned me, it was the coils.
Right,
And he was thinking right, I was thinking different. I was thinking like actuators, he's thinking fluid. So is that an add back? Add that to this?
No, so you just, that 1.3,
We just wouldn't subtract that
you wouldn't
number out.
subtract that number off of that
So
1.3.
it'd be just this number plus
Just do
this
that
number.
Yeah.
top number plus the lights
And the 50,000.
and 50,000.
We need to negotiate that, so we don't have
And that makes 50,000 be an even less percentage.
it does.
Man, $1.3 million would sure buy a bond, wouldn't it?
Energy costs on that. Just go split ones. Go splits.
I was gonna say, those splits, I mean, they brag about them, but I can't see that being efficient, even though they talk about how efficient they are. They're probably efficient if you compare it to a regular machine.
Saying we don't room on the sides, how many splits would you do?
Yeah.
And the energy, electric consumption on split. Well, the AC units, they do, then you get split on how you do auditoriums and.
Right.
big
As
area
far as
kitchen.
discussion, this is just for discussion.
Yeah, I really thought we'd make a vote in May, if you guys are ready to make a vote. I mean, I'm sure they'd be fine with it, but I think it ties in with the budget talk that we need to have, so that's why I kinda wanted to throw those numbers out there for you. Throw the finance numbers out there for you, and then have the discussion about the budget.
So let's talk about the finance part.
Yeah.
Can we do
So-
that?
Yeah, so I have been in contact with 2 different companies, and this company has gotten back with me, Government and Capital. And, so I have that proposal, what they proposed out to you. I also talked to Jeff down at, Eastern Colorado, he just hasn't got me numbers yet. And so, this is Government Capital, if you go to the back page, it has, he went ahead and just run the big 2.1, and put the 10 payments. Jeff wanted to know about stretching that out, and from what I read and gather in the Kansas statutes at schools, if it's a purchase lease, it has to be 10 payments. So you'd wanna look at that column there, but, so the 2.1 is 10 payments, and you see the interest rate of 4.859, that would be $273,000 payment a year. I will tell you that our capital outlay, we bring in $160,000 per year for capital outlay.
So when I looked at this before the meeting, the question that I would have is, the stated rate is the 4.859. Would they be open to a buy down?
Yes.
What would that cost?
Yeah, and he didn't give me those figures, cause I couldn't give him how much.
Okay.
And that's kinda what Jeff was wanting to know as well.
I would think if we could take, you know, decide on, is we could buy it down like half a point, run the numbers, see what that looks like, stretch it out, 10 years, 10 payments as long as we can go, and see if that makes sense. If we could get it locked in and fixed.
I think we should have about, this is just a, rounded, this is just a projection of, we should have about $800,000 left in our capital outlay at the end of the year. Okay.
Any other thoughts, discussion on that, or then I'm moving to?
Roughly half of that capital outlay. Is that too much? Put it towards this.
Yeah.
Then you
Maybe
borrow,
buy it down.
you have less than $1 million borrowed. Buy it down. That should make that payment. You can take half of what it is now. Maybe it should even be
That's what
less
I was
than that.
thinking, if we could buy that down at the front and fix the rest.
So I
It would
did,
be painful like right now, I don't think it would be better.
I know.
things are only gonna get more expensive.
Right.
I've spent a lot of time the last 2 weeks talking to different people about financing, this project financing, executive coaches on budget, Greenbush, asked Greenbush and my executive coach, like, what would you feel comfortable with looking at our budget, our dollar values? How much would you leave in your capital, make sure you have left in your capital outlay? And one of them said 500 and one of them said 450.
So it would be, but it's not out of line.
No.
So you're roughly doing $1 million borrowed.
Well, and I still wanna do it where we can do it inside the confines of this organization, not go that we need to raise taxes, I don't wanna do that.
So that, we read 160,000 in with 6 mills, leveraging 6 mills, you know, so if you went to the maximum 8 mills, this is just information for you, you would get another, it's not quite 60,000 a year. For capital outlay.
And that's 8's the max, and that's where most schools are.
I think there's 5 schools left that are underneath the 8 mills.
And I don't want to do that if we don't have to. And I just don't think we're there yet, I think we have room to work.
So, I guess I'll answer any questions, but I feel like it's a big enough project and enough dollars worth, I think it warranted some conversation before we have to make a decision.
Well, we're not, yeah, we're just discussing.
Right.
Bruce, what do you think?
Well, it's kinda eye-opening for me, not ever setting in on knowing where all this is at, so. So it's kinda, like I said, I'm kinda going wide-eyed, looking at this.
I guess I, like, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but just being new at this and how we're approaching this, do you have any different ideas?
Well, I'm kinda like Christie, I like to get the giddy at stuff, so the old boilers, all that kind of stuff we'd be cutting back on some of that just for, make sure we get the use out of it. Rebuild what we can if it's replaceable. The lighting, I understand, it's probably a great idea. So,
Well, the other thing is, Christie and they're having all these conversations. We get stuck, not stuck, we're privileged to get the Cliff Notes.
I think you were invited.
I was voluntold. But they had the conversation, but I haven't put in the time.
Right.
Do you have anything to add, Ross?
No, he is coming, right?
Yeah, he's
To
gonna
the
come,
main
yeah,
meeting.
he's coming to the main, Luke is coming to the main meeting. But in the meantime, if you have questions that you want answered, he's been very good at getting on the phone with me and talking to me when I need to ask him questions or email, so.
Okay, moving on to the budget part.
So the first page, the first one I'd like for you to look at, the one that is the smaller, and I'm sorry it printed off small, hopefully you got your glasses or something, maybe your eyesight's not as bad as mine is. But if you could, just, I guess, I'll give you a few minutes to maybe try to comprehend that. I handed it to Drew today and asked him, does this make sense? And he had questions for me, so you'll probably have questions for me, but, you wanna take a couple minutes and look at that and see if it makes sense to you.
That teachers through attrition, library manufacturing, that would be shutting down the
Yeah.
welding program.
Yeah, he's on the other page, he's not on this one. Doing
Who was over this
this
one?
Oh.
So if you look if you look on the left-hand side, that's the projected ending balance, in the general and the LOB, I gotta get my cattle terms out of here. LOB, that is 250,000, that's 9% of the budget. And then if you look at current year, then comparing current year to what they're projecting, now remember, these are projection numbers. We haven't been, our audit isn't fully complete, it's so close, but it's just not complete. And then they do pretty much have the numbers pretty well solidified for the student pupil funding. So you can see general, the current year, 1,944,685, and the fiscal year 26, 1,812,353. That's general. LOB this year was 676,853. Next year 579,952. So add the difference of those two. That's the number that I've kind of been throwing out at you the last month or so, the negative 229, 233. I did put some increases, I was able to call the insurance company, they were projecting a 5 to 10% increase. So that's 20, some of these, the movement on the teacher scale, I figure will cost anywhere from 8 to 10, so I just went ahead and put 10. A 1% salary increase across the board, I don't know what negotiations will look like, just so that you're aware that anywhere between 13 and 15,000. Utility increase 8,700. That transfer CO salary to general fund, we may or may not have to do that depending on what we're doing for funding as far as the HVAC system. What that means is right now we're paying 2 janitor salary out of capital outlay. If we're gonna take a big chunk of money and we're gonna use every dime that we have that we get for our capital outlay, do we need to transfer a salary back to the general fund? So I took one of the janitor salary, or average of a janitor salary, and just subtracted that as well. So that brings the total to negative 317. I've been advised that you should have a 5% ending balance, just so you feel like you have some sort of cushion. So that's a negative 120, so that's a grand total of negative 437, 933. So instead of having a 9% at the end, we figured a good for us at the end of our budget would be a 5%. So you got 250,000 left for this year, so you can, depending on how you wanna look at it, you have the negative 437, you add to it a 250, that's kind of the budget deficit that we're looking to need to cut. Give you that number once today, but. Some things that you can consider, like I just put, we gotta consider that we're gonna have to make payment on the HVAC system. And also we have a pretty good contingency reserve compared to most districts for our size, 279,000.
Looking at this now, which was anything.
So then I gave you some cuts there. The next page, has some budget reduction items. Well, that's what, our lease is up, so that would be, I guess, comparable. I don't know that for sure, I just put what we're paying right now.
But on a new lease, that is, wasn't that like $40-some thousand for 2 copiers or something, same thing?
It was nuts.
If we were going with 2 instead of 3, that might be significantly less. Maybe.
Well, again, I looked through this and I know there's a lot of thought put into all of these things, from?
I mean, like, what do you mean explain where?
Well,
they
it's
came
like
from?
classified staff 77,000, what does that mean? I mean, like, to me, it's just a number.
If, you know, if we had to, we know, I mean, if the salaries
I
would
mean, it
take
looks
up
like a
the.
great number, but
Right, but I
a lot of
mean,
thought went into it.
like, yeah, a lot of thoughts gone into all of this, but, if reducing classified staff. And I suppose if we have to have more conversation about it, it'll have to be an executive session.
Okay, fair enough. Technology, 10%, $3,000, where would that come from, what would that look like?
So we put so many dollars in technology, so we don't get as many computers bought, you know, cause we have a rotation.
Right.
So we'll stretch that rotation out another year.
That would come
So,
from,
yeah.
like the Chromebook.
Chromebooks, iPads, honestly, iPads are way more expensive than Chromebooks. We talked about moving, things down, moving everybody to Chromebooks except for K1 too. Cause Chromebooks are just a little too hard for little ones, but right now we have iPads clear up to 5th grade.
For each classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, not being critical, just trying to understand.
No, I totally appreciate the questions.
And the teachers, their attrition, we could get that. Insurance, get that. Cut a teacher. Is that a executive session thing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably.
Okay. Lunchroom help, probably the same. Cut it, self-explanatory.
For sports activities, like, would that involve the activities?
Cut the activities with less than 5.
Yeah.
So Mr. Cordy and I went through that today, and we thought there was more, sports that had less than 5 for this year, but some of them were just right at 5, so, I think we only had one.
One in-
Country.
No, because if you factor in junior and high
Oh,
school,
okay, gotcha.
because it's one coach's salary.
Right. Oh.
Nope,
Forensics.
forensics.
It's for-
I mean, at that level, I don't, that's not me to change. The other ones are.
You know, some others, I had some additional, adding additional funds, there was some conversation about pay to play. We are looking at additional CTE funding, we don't know exactly how much it is, and, you know, it could be anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000. Could be less, I mean, we've been in conversation with another school about them attending CTE courses here, but we haven't got any solid numbers on that, or if that will even happen, so.
Are there other schools looking at or doing pay to play, like within our league or within the area or anything like that?
The only one I know of is Scott City. I don't think anyone in our league is paid, but
Our league is also trying to figure out some, budget, when you do budget cuts, or what's the league? I know they're talking about passes. That's just
every school's
schools are kinda
bleeding
like-
with athletics, like you're losing money.
It really has, okay, that's nothing to do with the league per se, it's the individual schools in the league,
Correct, but the passes are with them,
our league passes.
yeah, is what everyone is assuming is causing a lot of it.
Okay, so that's.
Basically, you're losing money instead of breaking even. The goal is always to break even when you host a game.
So, yeah. sets that standard?
Yeah, they lowered it, so they set a set amount as opposed to in the past, it was based off your faculty and stuff, so like some schools had these ridiculous amounts, 140 passes, and us had, we had 60. Cause it just depends on your staff size and stuff, and it was open for interpretation, whether you started elementary all the way up.
So does anybody have any idea how much, or drag names, not really personal names, but how much revenue do we lose by, having open space in sports?
How do you know that?
I have no idea. How much does that affect our attendance, I guess? is the
Yeah,
question.
I mean, we'd have to send out a survey, I think, if they, find that out. I don't know how she figured that out.
Yeah.
So will cutting league passes make break even then on our games?
That's not.
Hell,
Yeah,
but
I don't think it'll stem the
There's-
flow.
there's a
Sports
lot-
are pretty much a money losing situation always, right?
So football, basketball generally bring in some money. Volleyball is usually losing money, and then everything else. I'd say football, and basketball are the only ones that bring in. Like homecoming is a profitable thing.
Yeah.
Outside of that, though,
one thing that other schools don't do that we have asked them is that all students pay if they're not in high school. Like a high school game, students pay, like K through 8 students pay.
correct.
I think we're actually one of the only schools that
I
don't.
think we are one of the few.
Our league,
Yes. Well, like
In our league,
around
yeah.
too.
really?
After we look at,
But you're not talking huge,
No.
any of that, whether it's open spaces or any of that.
as budgets are getting tighter, that pays for things. It's a rare thing here, it hasn't happened yet, but it's pretty common, not far east of here, I mean, it's just a normal thing.
I see possibilities within the concessions, like we were talking to bring that money back in pretty easily for that stuff. A lot of money that gets brought in through concessions, not saying all concession money go to that or anything like that, but like my son's bus is pretty small. I don't know what mainly concessions for 4 years would look like for them, and they may have all the money that they would need in the first 2, maybe 3 years or something, so then there's the possibility of concessions being available.
What's your take on it? So if you drop, just say you just drop sneak and concessions, as far as that going to that, how do you get people, what's your take on getting people to help do concessions? If they don't have their specific club that they're doing it for? To me, that's their incentive.
Cause right now, that's where you get a lot of your labor and a lot of donations just through supporting kids.
Yeah.
You know, they're only kids. You take that away, what happens to the concession?
I do know.
One example is Syracuse, they do that,
They do what?
just everybody gets a crack at concessions,
Like football gets cracked and
like basically whoever
band
wants to,
band
yeah.
gets it.
That's how it
And
That's
it's,
how Finland does it.
Because my wife's running concessions up there, at North Star Choir, kids, the little elementary kids go up to that.
not pretty hard.
Yeah, I don't know on that.
Tribute seems like they always have a different group running concessions, it always seems like they have people.
That's what I was wondering, do most schools do concessions for a prom and a trip? Is that?
We're about the last few
some schools do trips, but it's not near as long.
So does that shine in? This kid goes to St. Francis one, I think that's people do a one-day trip,
St.
overnight or something like
St.
that.
Francis goes to Denver usually, so.
But my parents talked about Lincoln. Just thought there's a lot of money that comes in through concessions. Not $190,000.
Well, probably in the 15 to 20 grand. However much a senior class gets up, that's probably about how much comes in annually, runs prom or something like that. But the same deal, how do you get something that's always been there for the school? I guess I'm not free is the right word, but at taxpayer's expense, now becomes something that you have to work for as a kid, or as the teacher, or as the group, or whatever. How do you get that mindset changed anyway? Or am I looking at that wrong? Like, if you're trying to take concession and then put it towards the general fund in a roundabout way, whether it's to a group or whatever, but it's a group that's already been getting funded, right? How do you change the mindset of we can't fund that anymore unless you do concessions? I don't know.
I would say it's not that we can't fund it anymore, it's a supplemental. It's not like we're dropping the program if you don't.
Right.
Thinking of band, it'd be an opportunity to go beyond what they're already able to do, like maybe you do a trip, like taxpayers aren't funding trips for the band or something like that. It'd be an opportunity to work a concession to then make a trip to go watch a concert or something like that.
And I like that or agree with it, but that doesn't help our bottom line. Because that money's not going into this fund, it's going towards something new.
That is correct. Does anybody need an executive session to discuss?
Well, I don't know that number one item there, the classified staff deal. I mean, that's a significant number. Yeah, and I feel like if it's something we're really considering, it requires an executive session, then I feel like we probably should. Does that make sense? I mean, if it's something that we're not really considering, which, how do we know?
Well, because you gotta come up with $200,000.
Right, and those are the only two things on there that, well, not the only two. They're significant, so I guess I feel like we should have an executive session to understand where those are, how we're getting there, if that's what it requires. And then I guess you're saying that's what it requires.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, go on with that too.
The
5-minute
for
recess to be followed by a 10-minute executive session.
There you go. I'll just make it. Can I do that? Do my, so I would make a motion for a 20-minute executive session following a 5-minute break.
Reason
On elected personnel, yeah.
reason, budget.
budget.
Discussion. In the library.